Oh, hi there. Today I'm going to tell you about my book, The Ranger's Apprentice and the Icebound Land by John Flanagan. This book is the third in the series. As you can see on the back, there's a lot of books in this series. And it neatly falls into the subgenre of fiction, medieval fantasy. There's weird genre stuff there. Maybe fantasy is a subgenre of fiction, and then it's a subgenre, but I'm just going to let that go. I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. Bye. For now. There's going to be another video in a sec. Bye for a second. In the previous two books of this series, we've met Will, a young kid that has a profound ability to sneak around without anyone noticing him. He is a ward of the castle, and really, really wants to be a knight for the castle. But he's too small to be a knight. So instead, Halt, a ranger. By the way, rangers are essentially the scouts of the kingdom. Very elite, very elusive. There's only about 50 of them in this entire kingdom. Well, Will gets a chance to enter because Halt notices him. Halt is, of course, a very old, grizzled ranger who's seen a lot in his day. He notices Will and takes him as his apprentice. His second apprentice, his previous apprentice, has gotten old and learned the ways of the ranger and left him to be the ranger of his own castle. But Will joins with Halt and learns all the ways of the ranger. He is now adept with a bow, knives, and can now disappear in almost any situation due to his amazing ranger cloak. Well, in the first book, they together defeat a group of very elite monsters sent by Lord Moragrath. Very hard to pronounce names in this book. These monsters are absolutely terrifying, and I won't get you into the details, but they are very scary monsters that I would not want to fight if I was them. But Will basically single-handedly defeats two of them and saves Halt's life. So that's the first book. That's how that ends. In the second, they need to venture into another kingdom because it's gone into peril and there's no one there anymore. When they get into this new kingdom, guess what they find? No one there, because everyone just seemingly left. We find out that this is because wargles, different monsters, not quite as scary but still terrifying, sent by Lord Moragrath, I think, have stolen everyone from the villages, and the people who were left just fled. So now we have almost no one left in all these villages. So now Will and Halt are walking through, or on horseback, are going through these just empty plains with here and there villages, completely empty, coated in dust. They meet Evelyn, who was a part of a royal procession, basically going into this other kingdom, and they meet her. Her entire other escort procession has been killed by these monsters. She's the only one left, so of course they take her in, give her a nice soup, and then they set off. They defeat Lord Moragrath, but in the process, Will and Evelyn get taken by Scanadians. I'm just going to call them Scanadians, who take them away to their icy homeland, which takes a boat to get there. And that's where we start the third book. Will and Evelyn are now on a boat going into new territory. They've never been there before. Insane storms. So the captain of this Scanadian boat decides that they're going to land on an island that they have a few huts on. So now Will and Evelyn are landlocked on a small island with basically nothing there except for a bunch of basically big, crazy warrior guys who live on a boat their entire lives. Not great. And that's about when we find out that Evelyn isn't just a random girl. She is, in fact, the daughter of the king of their home kingdom. So she's been hiding this because she didn't want Morgrath to find out. I don't know. It's a whole complicated thing, but she's been hiding this. She then tells Will right as another ship arrives from another group of warriors that got caught in the seas, and the captain of those warriors has taken a blood oath to kill anyone of the royal blood family of their home kingdom. So now Evelyn is in a bunch of danger. We have also found out that one of Will's old friends from school has joined up with Halt to come back, get a boat, and rescue them. They're on their way. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Right now, we're at a big cliffhanger because we really don't know what's going to happen with Will and Evelyn being taken as slaves to Scanadia. Oh, hi again. And look at this. Here's the book. Just in time, because now it's time for me to read you a quote from the book. I think this quote is pretty funny. You might not get it because it takes some context, but hopefully I can explain it all to you. So to set this up, Will and Halt are on their way, journeying on a bunch of country roads to get to a port where they can find a boat. On their way, they encounter a knight, and I'll read. One of the characters, the knight that they find, talks in a different language. So I'm sorry, I cannot read it very well. You, messieurs, may not cross my bridge without you pay me a tribute, he called. Horace frowned now. By the way, Horace, he's Will's friend from school. What? He asked Halt, and the ranger turned to him. Barbaric, isn't it? He said. You, messieurs, that's us, of course, may not cross the bridge without you pay me a tribute. A tribute? Horace asked. It's a form of highway robbery, Halt explained. If there was any real law in this idiotic country... sorry, just lost my place here. People like our friend here would never get away with this, but as it is, they can do what they like. Knights set themselves up at bridges or crossroads and demand that people pay a tribute to pass. If they can't pay a tribute, you can choose to fight them. Since most travelers aren't equipped to fight a fully armored knight, they all just pay the tribute. Horace sat back on his horse and studied the mounted man. He was trotting his horse back and forth across the road now, in a display that was doubtless he intended to discourage from resistance. His kite-shaped shield was emblazoned with a crude rendition of a stag's head. He wore full mail armor covered by a blue surcoat that also bore the stag's head symbol. He had metal gauntlets, greaves on his shins, and a pot-shaped helmet with a sliding visor, currently open. The face under the visor was thin, with a prominent pointed nose. A wide mustache extended past the sides of the visor opening. Horace could only assume that the knight crammed its ends inside before he lowered the visor. So what will we do? He asked. Well, I suppose we'll have to shoot the silly idiot, Halt replied, in a sort of resigned sort of voice. By the way, Halt carries a bow because he's a ranger. He's super great with a bow. That's one of the ranger skills. I'll be damned if I'll pay tribute to every jumped up bandit who thinks who thinks the world owes him for a free living. Should be a damn nuisance, though. Why is that? Horace asked. If he goes around asking for a fight, who's gonna care if he gets killed? He deserves it. Halt laid down the bow, knocked it and ready, down across his saddle. I'm going to stop here because this quote is just going to keep going. It's like another page until it gets to the good part. But in the end, Horace, who is also a trained knight, confronts the knight, defeats him in a battle, and ends up taking all of his stuff. The funny part about this quote, though, I didn't really get a chance to capture it, but they find a bunch of these other knights, and for all of them, they convince them, like, once they're down on the ground bleeding, to give up all their stuff. So now Will and Halt, on 2 horses with a pack horse, also now have a trail of like 9 royal horses behind them, just with all the gear that they've stolen from all these knights, which I think is pretty funny. They end up going into a town and selling it all, but it's a pretty funny quote. Sorry that you guys didn't get the full quote. Too long of a quote. Bye. Also, I guess the quote doesn't really relate to a theme of the book, but it does show that there's some mild comedy sprinkled throughout it. There's a lot of these little tidbits of comedy all over the place. First of all, Will. He is a great character, and I feel like he's a very relatable character. I don't know, he's great. He's saved a lot of people, and all in all seems like a very trustworthy person who many people have trusted their lives with, which was a great decision on their part because it saved their lives. That's Will. Not much else I can say about Will. He's great. Great person. In this book, there are a few minor moral issues because Will and Evelyn are taken as slaves, but I can really let that pass because at the time, everyone was taking slaves. It would be like if you have 2 people that you can take as slaves of war, you take them as slaves of war. Like if you got the option, that's what you do at the time. So I can let that pass, but that's really the only rough part in the book, really. Oh, hi again, and once again, here's the book. So, once again, it's quote time. Favorite part, right? So, in this part, setting you up, Halt is in a bar. That's pretty much all you need to know. Halt's in a bar. And he's been talking, he's been talking treason about the king in this area. We don't really know why. Here we go. The twang of the bow releasing was almost deafening in the tension-charged room. Instinctively, violently, the corporal flinched and staggered back a pace, expecting the burning agony of the arrow and then the blackness of certain death. Then he realized what had really happened. The bowstring had snapped. The ranger stared incredulously at the useless weapon in his hands. The table remained frozen for a full 5 seconds. Then the corporal and his men leaned forward, swinging the short, heavy clubs that they carried, swarming over the small green and gray-clad figure. As the ranger went down under the rain of blows, no one noticed him drop the small blade that he'd used to sever the bowstring. But the tavern keeper did wonder how a man who moved so quickly to defeat a stevedore twice his size now seemed to be so slow and vulnerable. Now, this quote I picked to end us off because it's really a great quote. And also because it's so hard to understand without the context that it's really going to make people want to read this book. And it's just such a great cliffhanger that it's going to make people want to read the book because they want to figure out, why would he do that? Why would he get arrested for talking treason for no reason? And snap the bowstring too. It's a really interesting point. And I think that it's really going to get people's attention. And last but not least, thank you for watching. This was fun. Hope you had fun. This video went way longer than I thought it would. Bye.